Sham Sharadava Nalalida Lokam Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalida Lokam Tranaya Karunya Gana Ganata Prapta Sakralyana Gunana Vasya Vande Gurashi Charanoro Vrindam Prapta Sakralyana Prapta Sakalyana Gunana Vasa Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nritya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Romancha Kampasru Taranga Bhajo Bande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Shri Vigrara Dana Nityanana Shringaratanama Niramajanado Juktasya Bhaktamsa Niyunjatapi Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasado Sadhana Triptan Hari Bhakta Shanga Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasado Kritaiva Tripti Vajata Sadeva Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Shirarikama Gavayora Para Madhurya Lila Gunarupa Namna Pratikshana Sva Dhanalalupasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Nekunjayuno Ratikeli Siddhai Jajali Bhir Jukti Apekshaniya Jono Ratikeli Siddhai Jajali Bhir Tatrati Daksha Ativalavasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam साक्षाद्धरिद्वेन समस्तशास्त्रे रुक्तास्तथाव गतैव साधुभिः किन्तु प्रवर्ज प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणरविन्दम् यस्य प्रसाद भगवत्प्रसाद यस्य प्रसादं न गति कुतोऽपि यस्य प्रसादं ध्यायां स्तुवं तस्य यस्य त्रिसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणरविन्दम् नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमः नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पचतारे शतारिणे नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पचतारे शतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासारि गौरा भक्त वृंद श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासारि गौरा भक्त वृंद श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासारि गौरा भक्त वृंद श्री Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Ram. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hariyaraye Namah Krishna Jadavaye Namah, Jadavaye Madhavaye Keshavaye Namah, Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudam, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghuna, Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghuna, Shri Radha Nila Madhav Radhe, Jayo Jagannatha Jayo Baladeva Jayo Subhadrama Jayo Sudarshan Chakra. Nitai Gora Haribo 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 Nitai Go Haribo 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 Nitai Gora Premanande Haribo. Jai Vishnupada Paramahansa Prabhupada Acharya Sutara Srimati Divine Grace Abhacharvina Bhakti Vedanta Samara Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Pratishta Viviti Samstapaka Acharya Vaishnava Siramani Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Ji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Gauriya Guru Varga Patita Udhara Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Guna Sat Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय परम दयाल श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय। प्रेम नाम संकीर्तन एक जना का प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम Shri Sachinandana Shriman Gauranga Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gaura Hari Mahavranavatar ki jai, Golokera Pramadhan Hari Nam Sankirtan Jaga ki jai, Yoga Dharma Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Brihatmdanga Transcendental Book Distribution Seva ki jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopagopna Radha Kun Sama Kun Giriraj Govardhan ki jai, Shri Brajabhum Vrindavan Mathurdham ki jai. The Lordship Shri Radha Nilamadhava ki jai, Shri Mayapur Navadvip Ekachakra Dham ki jai, Paramakaruna Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Shri Purushottam Ketra Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Shri Jagannath Swami Baladev Prabhu, Srimati Subhadra Devi Sudarshan Chakra Bhagwan ki jai, Sitaram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman ji ki jai, Bhakti Sarva Vigna Vinashana Kanshingare Bhagwan ki jai, Jaganga Mai Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Maharani Vrinde Devi Bhakti Devi ki jai, Shri Mati Radharani ki jai, Shamaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gauradi Pramanandi. All glories to the Samvara Bodies. All glories to the Samvara Bodies. All glories to the Samvara Bodies. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. भगवान की जय। प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः राधा कृष्णा सेवा पावो ए अभिलाषी राधा कृष्णा सेवा पावो अभिलाषी जे तो मारा शरण लोय तारा वंच पूरन होय से कोई जीना मोरा होए। श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमे सदा जीना भासी। श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमे सदा जीना भासी। यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्माहत्याधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे। यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्माहत्याधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे। यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्माहत्याधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी।
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
जय वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी। नित्य गौरा हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, नित्य गौरा हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, नित्य गौरा हरि बोल। श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंदा देवी की जय।
Shri Vrindayi Tulasi Devaki Krishna Bhakti Pradane Satadatai Namah. Vrindayi Tulasi Devaki Krishna Bhakti Pradane Satadatai Namah. Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of his wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also give me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus, within my vision, I will always behold beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of Gary James and Savraj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me honored servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna praise. May I always sing in love with Shri Radha Govind, Shri Mati Tulasi Maharani Vrindi Devi Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Ki Jai. Pleasures of heart will the dust like many for years, and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of beauty of birth and death. This Sankirtan moment is a prime benediction for humanity at large, because it sprays the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which all is anxious. O my Lord, the holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There is no even hard and fast rules for chanting these names, O my Lord. Out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, think of oneself alone and stroll in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer our respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yes, somehow I'm falling in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh my Lord, when with my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name. When will my voice choke out, and will the hairs of my body stand on the end of the recitation of your name? Oh Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so, even if his hand is roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, but he's always my worshipful Lord, unconditioned. Jai Shri 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 Krishna Kam Ki Jai. Oh, Mahabharata. There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1. Blaspheme the bodies who dedicate life or propagate the holy name of the Lord. 2. Consider names of demigods, Lord Shiva or Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. Blaspheme the Vedic literature or literatures of pursuits of Vedic version. 5. Consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to the imagination. 6. To give some interpretation of the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider the chanting Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious spiritualistic activities which are for the Vedas as spiritual activity, karma, kanda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about the glories of holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in chanting the holy names, and to maintain material attachments, even not understanding so many instructions in this matter. It also an offense to be entertained to while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success in Krishna glory. Now let us offer our humble blessings unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire trees, they can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls.
Pattanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jai.
Yasayatam Vayalitaratascha Swavigyasvara Tena Mahavadaya Adikavaye Mujantya Surya Teja Vadimidhan Jatam Vilimajwa Jatrati Sagurmusya Gamnasvina Sada Nirasta Purakam Satyam Param Dhima.
O my Lord, Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva.
O my Lord, Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva.
O all-pervading personality, Godhead.
O all-pervading personality.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth.
I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute
and the primeval cause of all causes.
and the primeval cause of all
Of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestation. And he is independent because there's no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen on fire or land seen on water. Only because of him did the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, appear factual although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in a transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world.
through the presentation which you were.
I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute
I
truth.
meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth.
Dharma pujita kaitravudra.
Dharma Pujita Kaitavudra.
Paramo nimatsaranam sitam. Vedyam vastavam atravastu.
Vedyam Vastavam Astavastu.
Shivadam tapa trayon lulanam. Shimad Bhagavate Mahamani Krite. Kim va Parishwaraha. Sadhya Hridi Avarudyate Tra. Kriti Bihi Sususibistakshana. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold mysteries. This beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in its maturity is sufficient in its self-regard realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Nigama kalpataru galitam phalam sukhamukad amrita dravya samyatam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhur ahoraska bhuvibhavakaha. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired through Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful. Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Shinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantak Stohya Bhadrani Vidunati Srihitsatam. To hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures, or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita, is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best-wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. Nasta presu abhadresu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati samasloke bhakti bhavati naistaki. In this way, the devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees, he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. Tadarajastamo bhava kamalopadayaschaye chite taranavidam stitvam sattve prasidati. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lust and avarice are diminished. Evam prasana manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnana mukta sangasya jayate. When these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, becomes enlivened by devotional service, and understands the science of God perfectly. Vidyate hridaya grantis, chidyante sarvasamsaya, siyante jasyakarmani, justa evat manisware. Thus, Bhakti Yoga severs the heart not of material affection, and enables one to come at once to the stage of a samsayam samagram, understanding of the supreme absolute truth personality of God. Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness can one understand the science of Krishna. Shri Shri Guru Vastika prayers ki jai. The spiritual masters receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it. So the spiritual master delivers a materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I offer my respectful obeisance at the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is an ocean of auspicious qualities. Chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments. The spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind. Sometimes his hair stands on end. He feels quivering in his body, and tears flow from his eyes like waves. I offer my respectful obeisance at the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship of the Lord. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food. Analyzes that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasada, he is satisfied. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava, and their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert at assisting the gopis who at different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavana. I offer my most humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Shri Hari Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master. At least 3 times a day, I should offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Shri Brahma Samhita ki jai, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Nadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. Chintamani Prakarasat Masukalpa Riksha Laksavrite Susurabhira Vipalyantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambrahma Sevyamanam Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Venam Krananta Aravinda Dalayataksham Bharhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandarpakoti Kamaniya Visesha Sobham Govindamadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandrakala Sadvanamalya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam Shamam Tribangalalitam Niyata Prakasam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vittimanti Pasyanti Panti Kalyanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navyovanam Cha Vedesa Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Satavatsara Sampragamyo Vayoratapi Manaso Muni Pungamanam Sobhyasti Yat Prapadasim Yavichintya Tatve Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Dio Manajasta Taiva Ekopya Sora Chaitam Jagranda Kotim Yes Chakti Rasti Jagranda Chaya Yananta Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Dio Manajasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Saniyana Bhusaha Sukta Yameva Nigama Pratitaistuvanti Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Patibhavatabhis Tabirya Eva Nijarupa Tayakalabi Goloka Eva Nivasata Kilatma Bhuto Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksadeva Hidesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalanya Menatistan Nana Avataram Akarod Bhavane Sukintu Krishna Swayam Sambhavat Paramaha Pumam Yo Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhuto Jagaranda Koti Koti Svasesu Vasudadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahmaniskalam Anantam Ashesha Bhutam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Maya Hiyasya Jagadanda Satani Sute Dragunya Tad Vishaya Veda Vitaya Manam Sattva Valambi Parasattvam Visuddha Sattvam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Mataya Manasu Ya Praninam Pratifalam Smaratam Upekya Nilayatena Bhuvanani Jayat Jajasram Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Goloka Namni Nijidamni Tale Chatasya Devi Mahesa Haritama Sutesu Tesu Te Prabhava Nichaya Vitascha Yena Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shastishta Pralaya Sadhana Saktireka Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ijjana rupam apiyasya chachesta tesa. Govindam Adipurisham tamaham bhajami. Shiram yata dadivikara visesa yoga. Sanjayate nahitata pritakasti hito. Yasambutam apitata samapaiti karyat. Govindam Adipurisham tamaham bhajami. Deeparchit eva hita santaram abhyapetya. Deepayate vivita hita samana dharma. Yastadrigeva hicha Vishnu taya vibhati. Govindam Adipurisham tamaham bhajami. Yakarna narnava jale bhajati sma yoga. Nidramananta jagananda saroma kupaha. Adhara shaktim avalambya param swamurtim. Govindam Adipurisham tamaham bhajami. Yasyaika nisvasitakala matavalambya. Jivanti loma vilaja jagadandanataha. Vishnur Mahansahi Yasya Kala Vishesho. Govindam Adipurisham tamaham bhajami. Pasman yatasma sakalesu nijesu tejaha. Sviyam kiyat prakatiyat apitadvatatra. Brahma ya esa jagadanda vidana karta. Govindam Adipurisham tamaham bhajami. Yat pada palavya yam vinidaya kumbha. Tvandve pranama samayesa ganadi rajaha. Vignam vihantam alavasya jagatrayasya. Govindam Adipurisham tamaham bhajami. Agnir mahiga ganamambu maruti sascha. Kalas tatatma manasiti jagatrayani. Yasmad bhavanti visantiyam cha. Govindam Adipurisham tamaham bhajami. Yats chaksur esa savita sakala grahanam. Raja samasta suramurti rasesa tejaha. Yasyagya brahmati sambrita kala chakro. Govindam Adipurisham tamaham bhajami. Dharmota papa nichaya srutayastapamsi. Brahmadikita patagava deyasya jivaha. Yadata matra vibhava prakata prabhava. Govindam Adipurisham tamaham bhajami. Yastindra gopa matavendra mahosva karma. Bandhanu rupa falabhajana matanoti. Karmani nirdhati kinchita. Karmani nirdhati kintucha bhakti bhajan. Govindam Adipurisham tamaham bhajami. Shriyakanta kanta parama purusha kalpata. Okay, yam krodha kama sahaja pranayadi vitti. Vatsalya moha guru gora vasevya bhavahai. Sanchitya tasya sadrasim tanamaparete. Govindam Adipurisham tamaham bhajami. Shriyakanta kanta parama purusha kalpataravo. Druma bhumischintamani ganamayi toyam amritam. Kata ganam natyam gamanam apivamsi priyasaki. Chid anandam jyotiparam apitat asvadhyavapicha. Sayatra shiradi bihi shravati surabhibhyascha sumahan. Lime sardakyo vavrajati nahi yatra pit samaya. Bhaje Svita Dvipam Tamaham Iha Golokam Itiyam Vedantas Te Santakshiti Viravacharakati Paye Shri Shopanishad Om Purnam Ada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vasisyate Ishvaishamidam Sarvam Jatkinja Jagatyam Jagatina Taktena Punjitaha Magritaha Kasisviddanam Kurvaneva Karmani Jajiva Chekchatam Samaha Evam Twayi Nanyatetostina Karma Lipite Nare Asuryana Mate Loka Andena Tamasamvritaha Tamste Pratya Vigachanti Yekichat Mahano Janaha Anichadika Manasoja Vyo Nena Devam Apravam Pravam Asata Davato Nyana Teti Tistatas Minapumata Visotadati Tadejati Tanejati Tadure Tadvantike Tadantarasya Sarvasya Tadu Sarvasya Sya Vayataha Yastu Sarvani Bhutani Atmani Evanupasyati Sarvabhute Suchatmanam Tatuna Vijagupsate Asmin Sarvani Bhutani Atmeva Budvijanataha Tatrako Mahakahasoka Ekatmam Anapasyataha Saprayagastuka Makayam Labrinam Asnavinam Sutam Apapavidam Kavimanisi Paribu Swambu Yatatat Yatorutan Vyadadas Jasvatipyaha Samabhyaha Andam Tamahapavisanti Ye Vidyam Upasate Tatobu Yavite Tomo Yayu Vidyayam Rataha Anyadahu Vidyaya Anyadahu Vidyaya Iti Sushruma Dhiranam Yenastad Vichakshire Vidyam cha yasyastad vedobayam saha avidyaya militum titva vidyayam ritamasnute Antam tamaha pravisanti ye sambhutim upasyate tato bhuya vitetamo yayu sambhutam rataha Anyadevahur sambhavat anyadahur sambhavat iti susrumadhiranam yastad iti susrumadhiran yenastad vichichakshire Sambhutim cha vinasam cha yastad vedobayam saha vinasena militum tidva sambhutam ritamasnute Hiranmayana patrena satyasya bhitam bhukam tatvam pusama pavrinu satyadharma yadristaye Pusanika seyamasurya prajapatya vyuharasmi samaho tejo yate rupam kayanatamam tate pasyami yo savaso purushaha sohamasmi Vayuranilam amritam atedam basmantam sarinam om kratos smara kritam smara kratos smara kritam smara Om Agnenaya Supatara Yasman Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidval Yodasmaj Juhuranamino Buyastam Te Nama Utim Vidnama Om Tatsat. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, Text 17. Ya Yan Gunar Avarajopi Adite Sutanam Lokan Vichakrama Imam Yad Atha Diyajnaha Yisman Vamanena Jagrihe Tripada Chachalena Yachnam Rite Pati Charan Prabhubir Nachalaya. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord, although transcendental to all material modes, still surpassed all the qualities of the sons of Aditi, known as the Adityas. The Lord appeared as the youngest son of Aditi, and because he surpassed all the planets of the universe, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. On the pretense of asking for a measurement of 3 footsteps of land, he took away all the lands of Bali Maharaj. He asked simply because, without begging, no authority can take one's rightful possession. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The history of Bali Maharaja and his charity to Vamanadev is described in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Bali Maharaja conquered all the planets of the universe by rightful possession. A king can conquer other kings by strength, and such possession is considered to be rightful. So Bali Maharaja possessed all the lands of the universe, and he happened to be charitably disposed toward the Brahmanas. The Lord therefore pretended to be a beggar Brahmana, and he asked Bali Maharaj for a measurement of 3 footsteps of land. The Lord, as the proprietor of everything, could take from Bali Maharaj all the land he possessed, but he did not do so because Bali Maharaja possessed all those lands by king's rights. When Bali Maharaj was asked by Lord Vamana for such small charity, Bali Maharaja's spiritual master, namely Sukracharya, objected to this proposal because he knew that Vamana Deva was Vishnu himself, pretending to be a beggar. Bali Maharaj did not agree to abide by the order of his spiritual master when he understood that the beggar was Vishnu himself, and he at once agreed to give him in charity the land requested. By this agreement, Lord Vamana covered all the lands of the universe with his first 2 steps, and then asked Bali Maharaj where to place the 3rd step. Bali Maharaj was very glad to receive the Lord's remaining step upon his head, and thus Bali Maharaj, instead of losing everything he possessed, was blessed by the Lord, becoming his constant companion and doorman. So by giving everything to the cause of the Lord, one does not lose anything, but he gains everything that he could never otherwise expect. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Lord, although transcendental to all material modes, still surpassed all the qualities of the sons of Aditi, known as the Adityas. The Lord appeared as the youngest son of Aditi, and because he surpassed all the planets of the universe, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. On the pretense of asking for a measurement of 3 footsteps of land, he took away all the lands of Bali Maharaj. He asked simply because, without begging, no authority can take one's rightful possession. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So here we have the pastime of Vamanadev, the dwarf incarnation of the Lord, who was the son of Aditi and Kashyapa Muni. So Kashyapa Muni married 9 daughters of Daksha, and the first was Aditi, with whom he engendered the demigods. And then the second one was Diti, who he engendered demons with. And the third was Dana, who he engendered the Danas, the Danavas. Danavas are mixed devotee demons. And then he continued with the other wives to produce so many other living entities, not all human beings, but all kinds of living entities, including snakes. So this is a very big history because Bali Maharaj is the example of giving every material blessing or possession that he has to the Lord. He gave everything to the Lord, including himself. So, therefore, you have Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. He's the example of Atma Nivedanam, giving everything. Mind, intelligence, body, senses, everything to the Lord. So, this proves that when one gives everything to the Lord, not only is he not a loser, but he wins more than anyone could ever expect to get. That is, he wins eternal liberation in the spiritual world in an eternal body. So, Bali Maharaj was given a Vaikuntha, an eternal association with the Lord and an eternal planet. If I'm not mistaken, it's the pole star. And another thing Bali Maharaj did that's incredible, he rejected an instruction of a spiritual master. So this is very instructive because if the spiritual master violates Vedic knowledge, especially statements made by Krishna himself, then the disciple is not obliged to follow it. So let's say one day the spiritual master said, well, today it's okay to drink alcohol, or it's okay to smoke marijuana on this particular day because so-called Lord Shiva also smoked marijuana on this day, which is not true. So the disciple has a right to reject that instruction of the Guru, because the Guru is not functioning as a Guru. One is a Guru if they simply repeat what Krishna and the previous acharyas have said, not if he changes what they say or violates what they say. So this is very instructive. And why did Sukracharya not want Bali Maharaj to give any blessing to Vamanadev, this little dwarf? He only asked for 3 steps, but he's a dwarf, so how much can he step if he's a midget? But anyway, Sukracharya understood that this person is actually an incarnation of Krishna. He looks like a minute or small dwarf, but he can take everything away from Bali Maharaj. So this is very interesting. Here's a person who has such vision that he can recognize the Lord who's coming in a different form or incarnation, and who has previously instructed his disciple, Yajna Vai Vishnu, all sacrifices should be offered to Krishna or Vishnu. And now Vishnu comes and he says, don't give him a damn thing, because if you give him, he's going to steal everything from you. Don't consider he's a dwarf. He has the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He'll take everything away from you. And then how will I get my monthly salary if he takes everything away from you? So he had a very targeted material purpose to reject the request of the Lord himself. So this is very interesting. This shows how one becomes denatured, how one's Krishna consciousness becomes denatured as soon as one has a material goal in life, in spiritual life. Spiritual life should not have any material goal, but one should have an infinite number of goals to serve the Lord. So if we don't understand this point, even though we are in Krishna consciousness, we will not make any significant spiritual advancement. Because we'll always be saying, well, this is mine, and that is mine, and this is mine, and I own this, and this is something I'm going to own, and this is this, and this is that. So as long as one has the profit incentive, one cannot really advance significantly in Krishna consciousness, because everything will be contaminated by that profit incentive. So does that mean you can't make a profit? No. You can earn $1 million a day. It's just fine. But if you only need $30 a day to live, then what are you going to do with the rest of the money? You should use it all in Krishna's service. Then you don't get affected. But if you say, well, I'll just keep this for safekeeping in my pocket, right? It's just like one time this Dr. Patel, he was going on morning walks with Srila Prabhupada. Later on, Prabhupada did acknowledge that he must have had some relationship with this Dr. Patel from a previous life, because they really got along very well, although Dr. Patel was basically a nonsense. But he did respect Prabhupada. He would argue with him every day. You can hear their morning walk discussions. It's all on tape. So one day Prabhupada said to Dr. Patel, Dr. Patel, my dear friend, so many poor young kids are coming to the temple in Juhu Beach. This is when they first opened the temple. And he said, I would like to give them fresh, new dhotis and kurtas, and give them nice prasadam. He said, you're making good money. Why don't you donate for this? So Dr. Patel said, I don't have any money. He said, what? What do you mean you don't have any money? You're earning good money. He said, yes, but I have to give it all to my wife. She keeps it. She makes the decisions. He said, but she is your wife. He said, yes, but I can't make any decisions like that. She's the only one who can make decisions. So Prabhupada just looked at him very strangely, I mean, obviously this was like a sick, poor excuse why he doesn't want to give a donation to the temple, you see. And it was very, very insulting, actually, to Prabhupada. But anyway, Prabhupada tolerated it. Later on, Dr. Patel realized, how great Prabhupada was. He regretted his pecuniary attachments. But anyway, we can see how the profit incentive will lead to lying, cheating, insulting even a pure devotee, and even Krishna. So, therefore, we should be very careful ourselves about becoming contaminated by this profit incentive. We should use every asset we have in the service of Krishna in one way or in another, and dovetail everything into Krishna's service. That is a successful life as a grihastha. Now, let's talk about success. That this is something that should be explained to our kids. What does it mean to be a successful person? They're being falsely misled to think that a successful person is Jeff Bezos or Larry Ellison or the two owners of Google or Bill Gates. They're not successful. They're shameful losers, because they're going to they're making so much money because of their previous life's karma, good karma, and they're wasting it all, and they're going to take birth in the animal world or some horrible second birth in the next life, because they're only interested in the profit incentive. So that is not a successful person. The successful person is explained in the second chapter, 40th verse, Nahabikramanastasti pratichayana vidyate swalpam apiyasya dharma chayate mahato bhayat, where Prabhupada says, or Krishna says, in this endeavor of Krishna consciousness, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. What's the most dangerous type of fear? If you take birth as an animal in the next life, or an insect, or a worm, or a microbe, or and one of the worst ways to take birth is to become a worm in a septic tank. Have you ever opened a septic tank? We used to have one here. And I had to open it up every 4 or 5 or 6 months to get it emptied, right? Because it fills up, with too much stool. And then when I opened it up one time, I saw hundreds and thousands of worms squirming around on the surface, eating the stool. It was like, I couldn't believe it. They're all living entities. And that's one of the 8,400,000 species, you see. So they're living in this dark, damp, big pool of stool and urine. And they're eating it. And they're getting fat. They get like this, like big fat worms, So that's a septic tank. Imagine where you can end up. So that is the greatest type of fear. So this verse in the purport Prabhupada says, activity in Krishna consciousness, or acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification, is the highest transcendental quality of work. Even a small beginning of such activity finds no impediment, nor can that small beginning be lost at any stage. Any work begun on the material plane has to be completed. Otherwise, the whole attempt becomes a failure. But any work begun in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect, even though not finished. The performer of such work is therefore not at a loss, even if his work in Krishna consciousness is incomplete. 1% done in Krishna consciousness bears permanent results, so that the next beginning is from the point of 2%, whereas in the material activity, without 100% success, there is no profit. Ajamila performed his duty in some percentage of Krishna consciousness, but the result he enjoyed at the end was 100%. By the grace of the Lord, there is a nice verse in this connection in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17. Tyakva swadharmam charanam bhujam harer bhajan apakvo tapatet tato yadi yatra kva vabhadram abud amusya kim kovarta abdo bhajatam swadharma taha. If someone gives up his occupational duties and works in Krishna consciousness and then falls down on account of not completing his work, what loss is there on his part? And what can one gain if one performs his material activities perfectly? Or, as the Christians say, what profiteth a man if he gain the whole world, yet suffers the loss of his eternal soul? Material activities and their results end with the body, but work in Krishna consciousness carries a person again to Krishna consciousness even after the loss of the body. At least one is sure to have a chance in the next life of being born again as a human being, either in the family of a great cultured Brahmana or in a rich aristocratic family that will give one a further chance for elevation. That is the unique quality of work done in Krishna consciousness. So this means that you cannot be a loser in Krishna consciousness. You can only be a winner. But guaranteed you'll be a loser in sense gratification. The life of sense gratification. Prabhupada has a very nice term that he uses that we'll encounter tomorrow, where he says that we must be engaged in the civilization of Atma. We must be engaged in a civilization of Atma and not the civilization of sense gratification or the civilization of mental speculation. Okay? Or the civilization of intellectualism. The Vedic literature gives different directions for the human civilization, including the civilization of the senses, of the mind, of the intelligence. One should engage in the civilization of the soul proper, or the progressive path of civilization of the spirit soul. So this is amazing. It's a civilization of the senses or sense gratification. It's civilization of the mind, which is mental speculation. It's civilization of the intelligence, which is, actually it's a positive thing, because he does say that the civilization of mental speculation is also not the perfect stage of life, because above the mind is the intelligence, and the Bhagavad Gita gives us information of the intellectual civilization, including the civilization of the senses. Bhagavad Gita gives us the information of the intellectual civilization. The Vedic literatures give different directions for the human civilization, including the civilization of the senses, of the mind, of the intelligence, and of the soul proper. The Bhagavad Gita primarily deals with the intelligence of man, leading one to the progressive path of civilization of the spirit soul. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the complete human civilization, dealing with the subject matter of the soul proper. As soon as a man is raised to the status of the civilization of the soul, he is fit to be promoted to the kingdom of God, which is described in the Bhagavad Gita as per the above verse. So we see that this engaging in devotional service, or bhakti yoga, is the civilization of the soul. And one cannot be a loser on that stage, at that stage. One can only be a winner. So, therefore, why should our children be duped, fooled, to think that real success is big money, big house, big appetite, and big stool? Why should they think like that? They should think that small is beautiful. So, therefore, we should not eat too much, we should not sleep too much, we should not eat too little also, or sleep too little. We have to have a tempered, balanced life. And we should have time for Krishna consciousness. We should not be engaged in such a way that there's no time for Krishna consciousness because I'm too busy making money. So that would be a big mistake. Better make less money, that's okay. But have time for Krishna consciousness. But the point is that anything that we are materially acquire, we will lose. There's no doubt about it. At the moment of death, you lose everything materially acquired, including your body. And if you led a bad life, then you'll get the body of an animal or an insect or whatever. But if you're Krishna conscious in this lifetime, even if you get the body of an animal, just like Gajendra, you'll be able to remember the prayers that you were saying when you had the human form of life. So you can't be a loser in Krishna consciousness, but you can be a two-time devastated loser by following the culture of sense gratification. So what America is now, what Europe is, what India is, what Australia is, what Russia is, what the Muslim countries are, they are practicing the civilization of sense gratification. And all wars, Prabhupada said, all wars are wars of sense gratification. One country wants to have sense gratification in one way, and another people want to have sense gratification in another way, and they're both fighting for the same land in order to establish their own way of sense gratification. So it's all nonsense. So this is a very instructive point. How do we explain to our kids what is the real success in life? So, to be honest, to be free of sinful activities, to not be troubled by lust, anger, greed, illusion, and envy, and so forth, and to be free of those things, and to live an honest life, and to practice Krishna consciousness without any hesitation, and progressive Krishna consciousness. So that's the real success, because at the end of life one goes back to Godhead. And Krishna promises that. He says, Antakali chamameva smaran mukva kalevram saprayati samadbhavam yati nasti atra samsayaha. 8th chapter, 5th verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, and whoever at the end of his life quits his body remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. And Prabhupada explains in this verse the importance of Krishna consciousness is stressed. Anyone who quits his body in Krishna consciousness is at once transferred to the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the purest of the pure. Therefore, anyone who is constantly Krishna conscious is also the purest of the pure. The word smaran, remembering, is important. Remembrance of Krishna is not possible for the impure soul who has not practiced Krishna consciousness in devotional service. Therefore, one should practice Krishna consciousness from the very beginning of life if one wants to achieve success at the end of his life. The process of remembering Krishna is essential. Therefore, one should constantly, incessantly chant the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Chaitanya has advised that one be as tolerant as a tree, taror eva sahisnuna. There may be so many impediments for a person who is chanting Hare Krishna. Nonetheless, tolerating all these impediments, one should continue to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, so that at the end of one's life, one can have the full benefit of Krishna consciousness. Well, there it is. Krishna is promising that you can go back to Godhead if you just chant Hare Krishna, respect Mahaprasadam, regularly hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and engage in practical, time-sensitive devotional service. He's promising it. So we should believe Krishna and not the civilization of sense gratification or civilization of mental speculation or civilization of intellectualism and what you call intellectualism or academia. We should be concerned with the civilization of the soul and spiritual life. Okay, so that was what I wanted to talk today. What is actual real success in life? Without understanding that, we'll be fooled by the numbers of people who are in illusion, chasing after rupiah or dollar, as they say, the dollar. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Are there any questions?
One question in Gajendra motion, like the elephant, even though he fell down, he remembers. So, to your point about like that is the hope that we have, that even if a mistake happens and then somebody falls down, we can still remember the Lord. So there is no loss. Even in the worst case, the opportunity to remember the Lord.
Yes.
Is
You're never a loser in Krishna consciousness. Never a loser. We have to believe that, and we have to, and there are many examples of that. Say, like Haridas Thakur, was he a loser because he was being beaten by the Muslims and being treated unfairly by the Brahmanas? No. After Lord Chaitanya would have darshan of Jagannath, he would get some Jagannath prasadam and take it to Haridas Thakur and sit down with him and make sure he ate the prasadam of Jagannath. So the Lord would secretly go to see him, because the Lord also did not want to cause any social upheaval by insisting that Haridas Thakur should enter into the temple of Jagannath. Just like I can't enter the temple of Jagannath because I'm not born in India, right? Am I going to make a riot or a big, political movement to change it? No, that's all right. It'll change eventually, but it's more important to not rock the boat, as they say. So Haridas Thakur would not come to the temple of Jagannath, not because he didn't want to see Jagannath, but because he didn't want to cause any social disruption because of the low consciousness of the Brahmanas. But see, today, there's the big controversies about, the Dalits not being allowed in the temple. Well, I'm worse than a Dalit, right? At least a Dalit is born in India. I'm born outside of India into, a Asura family. And I'm not allowed in the Jagannath Puri temple. But am I going to protest about that? No. I'm allowed in Mayapur temple. See? So there's always an alternative. See, there's always an alternative. But if you want to be a politician, then you just fight all the time. So, yeah, Prabhupada was not a bigot in that sense. He went all over the whole world and accepted everyone who was just a little bit humble, willing to follow instructions. And he taught us all to become transcendentally situated. So yeah. So your question was why? Yeah, Gajendra is an example that you cannot be a loser in Krishna consciousness. Hari Bol. Jai. Hare Krishna.